Commander Allison Wright stood at the observation deck of Earth's Space Defense Headquarters, her eyes fixed on the massive display showing the approaching alien vessels. The ships had appeared 3 days ago, crossing the edge of the solar system, with technology far beyond anything humans had developed. Their arrival had thrown the world into a mixture of panic and wonder. "They're slowing down near Mars orbit," said Lieutenant Frank Peterson, monitoring the radar systems. "Still broadcasting the same peaceful message on all frequencies." Wright nodded, but her expression remained tense. 20 years in military intelligence had taught her that appearances were often deceiving. "Any response from the UN Security Council?" "Yes, Commander. They've approved first contact protocols. Dr. Murphy is preparing the communication package now." The door slid open as Dr. Sean Murphy entered, carrying a tablet. His eyes were bright with excitement that contrasted sharply with Wright's caution. "This is the moment we've been waiting for our entire lives," Murphy said, showing her the final draft of humanity's first official message to an alien species. "First contact. Everything changes today." Wright reviewed the message, filled with greetings, in multiple Earth languages, mathematical constants, and offers of peaceful exchange. "Let's hope they mean what they say about peaceful intentions." "You're always suspicious," Murphy said with a smile. "Even with beings from another star?" "Especially with beings from another star." Wright signed off on the message. "Send it." The next 12 hours passed in tense waiting. The alien fleet, 7 massive ships that dwarfed Earth's largest space stations, maintained their position while analyzing humanity's message. Then, finally, they responded. The main screen in the command center filled with the image of a being, unlike anything on Earth. The alien had smooth, pale blue skin, 4 arms, and eyes that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. When it spoke, the translation software worked to convert its musical language. "We are the Varaxians," the alien said. "We come in peace and friendship, seeking to establish relations with your promising young species." Admiral William Garcia, who had rushed from Washington to the command center, stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you. I am Admiral Garcia, representing Earth's Unified Defense Forces. I am Nexor, Fleet Commander of the Exploration Division. We have traveled far to meet you." The Varaxian's voice was melodic even through the translation. "We wish to establish cultural exchange centers on your world and colonies to learn from each other." Over the next week, the world watched in amazement as diplomatic talks progressed with remarkable speed. The Varaxians shared small pieces of their technology, medical advancements, energy production methods, and agricultural techniques, as gestures of goodwill. Earth's governments, eager for access to more advanced alien technology, rushed to accommodate their requests for establishing outposts. Commander Wright observed all this with growing unease. Something about the aliens' behavior didn't add up. "They're being too generous," she told Dr. Murphy as they left another diplomatic meeting. "And have you noticed how they avoid certain questions? Anything about their homeworld's location, their population size, their military capabilities, they redirect the conversation." Murphy shrugged. "They're an alien species. Their social customs are bound to be different from ours." "Maybe." Wright wasn't convinced. "But I've spent my career studying deception. Human or alien, there are patterns to it." That night, Wright couldn't sleep. She reviewed the recordings of all Varaxian communications looking for inconsistencies. Around 3 a.m., she found something. In one message, Nexor mentioned they had visited 12 other civilizations. In a later message, he claimed 15. A small discrepancy, but enough to raise her suspicions further. Wright began keeping a private log of all such inconsistencies. She noticed the Varaxians always requested their cultural centers be built near strategic locations, major cities, military bases, power plants, and communication hubs. When questioned about this pattern, they offered reasonable-sounding explanations about energy requirements or communication needs. 2 months after first contact, the first Varaxian Cultural Center opened in New York. Similar centers followed in Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, and 20 other major cities worldwide. Smaller outposts appeared on the Moon, Mars, and the mining colonies on Europa. Public opinion was largely positive. The Varaxians were polite, shared useful technology, and seemed genuinely interested in human culture. But Wright remained unconvinced. One evening, she received permission to inspect the New York Cultural Center after hours. The Varaxians had agreed reluctantly, insisting that certain areas remain off-limits due to cultural sensitivities. Wright brought along Jack Reed, a technology specialist she trusted completely. "Keep your scanner hidden," she whispered as they toured the facility with a Varaxian guide named Kalox. "This area houses our cultural artifacts," Kalox explained, showing them rooms filled with strange alien art and artifacts. "And here we study your fascinating Earth music and literature." Wright noticed how Kalox steered them away from certain corridors. "What's down there?" she asked innocently. "Private quarters for our staff," Kalox said smoothly. "Nothing of interest." Later, outside the building, Reed showed Wright his scanner readings. "Commander, that place is broadcasting constant signals to their ships. Way more data than cultural exchange would require. Did you get readings from the restricted areas?" Reed nodded. "Some kind of energy signature I've never seen before, and the walls are lined with a material that blocks most scans." Wright's suspicions hardened into certainty. The next day, she requested a meeting with Admiral Garcia, bringing all her evidence. "You want me to believe the Varaxians are lying about their intentions?" Garcia asked, reviewing her report. "I'm saying we should be cautious. Why the secrecy? Why position their centers near strategic locations? Why block scans of certain areas?" Garcia sighed. "Commander, this first contact is the most important event in human history. The technology they've shared has already improved millions of lives. Do you know what would happen if we accuse them of deception without absolute proof?" "I'm not suggesting we accuse them publicly," Wright said. "Just increase our monitoring, prepare contingencies." After a long moment, Garcia nodded. Quietly, very quietly. "If you're wrong, our paranoia could destroy this relationship. If you're right." He didn't finish the sentence. That night, as Wright left headquarters, she spotted a Varaxian ship passing overhead, its lights blinking against the dark sky. Most people saw those lights and felt hope for a bright future. Wright saw them and wondered what they might really mean. In her apartment, she updated her private investigation files, adding today's findings. Then she sent an encrypted message to trusted officers in Earth's colonies, asking them to watch the Varaxian outposts closely. Something wasn't right, and Wright was determined to find out what the aliens were hiding before it was too late. As she finally drifted off to sleep, Wright couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was being watched, studied, and possibly judged, not as equals, but as something else entirely. 6 months had passed since the Varaxians arrived. Commander Allison Wright sat in her office reviewing reports from Earth's colonies. The screen before her displayed a message from Lisa Chen, the governor of the Mars settlement. "Another 3 workers missing near the Varaxian outpost," Chen wrote. "They were last seen entering the restricted zone to repair a water pump. The Varaxians claim they never arrived." Wright added this to her growing file of incidents. 37 people, missing across various colonies. Unexplained power outages near Varaxian facilities. Strange equipment detected by Earth sensors but explained away as cultural artifacts by their alien visitors. Her secure phone buzzed. It was Dr. Sean Murphy. "I need to see you," he said. His voice hushed. "Not at headquarters. The coffee shop, on 5th Street. 1 hour." Wright found Murphy sitting in the back corner looking pale and nervous. The linguist had been working closely with the Varaxians, helping to refine translation systems. "I've been analyzing their language patterns," Murphy said after Wright sat down. "There's something I missed before. Their language has layers of meaning. What sounds like innocent conversation might contain hidden messages when certain tones or pauses are used." "Hidden messages saying what?" Wright asked. Murphy glanced around before sliding a tablet toward her. "I recorded this at their last diplomatic meeting. Listen to the background frequencies." Wright put in an earpiece. At first, she heard only the familiar musical language of the Varaxians discussing cultural exchange programs. Then Murphy adjusted the settings, filtering out certain frequencies and enhancing others. A second conversation emerged underneath, discussing surveillance targets and defensive weaknesses. "They're talking about our military capabilities, right?" "In front of us," Wright said, her suspicions confirmed. Murphy nodded. "I've been comparing recordings. They've been doing this from the beginning." Wright left the meeting with Murphy's evidence securely downloaded. She contacted Greg Daniels, head of Earth's intelligence agency, who agreed to meet her in a secure room at headquarters. Daniels reviewed everything: Murphy's recordings, Wright's collection of inconsistencies, the missing personnel reports, and the suspicious positioning of Varaxian outposts. "Good work, Commander," Daniels said. "We need to establish a covert task force immediately." Within days, a small team of trusted officers began investigating the Varaxians more thoroughly. They used advanced shielded equipment that could bypass alien detection systems. What they found alarmed everyone involved. Each Varaxian cultural center contained sophisticated surveillance technology aimed at nearby human facilities. Their communication systems accessed Earth's networks in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Most concerning of all, they discovered evidence that the Varaxians had infiltrated Earth's defense systems, placing hidden backdoors that could disable crucial security measures. "They're preparing for something," Wright told Admiral Garcia during a private meeting 3 weeks later. "These aren't the actions of peaceful visitors." Garcia studied the evidence with a grim expression. "The president wants to confront the Varaxian ambassador privately before this escalates." The meeting took place in a secure underground facility. Ambassador Trellick of the Varaxians listened calmly as Garcia presented evidence of their deception. The alien's forearms remained perfectly still as Garcia spoke, its shimmering eyes unreadable. "Admiral, there seems to be a misunderstanding," Trellick said when Garcia finished. "The technology you've detected is standard for our cultural studies. We observe to learn. As for your missing personnel, we have no knowledge of their whereabouts. Perhaps your security systems are less reliable than you believe." "And the back doors in our defense systems?" Garcia pressed. "Unfortunate compatibility issues between our technologies. We will address these concerns immediately." Wright watched from behind a one-way mirror, noting how the ambassador showed no surprise at the accusations. It was as if Trellick had been prepared for this conversation. Following the meeting, the Varaxians made a show of adjusting their equipment and offering explanations for each concern. Many Earth officials accepted these explanations, unwilling to jeopardize relations with such an advanced civilization. But Wright's task force continued their covert monitoring. 1 month later, Governor Chen sent an urgent message from Mars. Unusual Varaxian ships had been observed landing near the outpost at night, unloading equipment that didn't match their claimed purposes. When questioned, the local Varaxian representatives claimed they were simply bringing in new cultural artifacts. Wright dispatched a trusted security team to investigate. Their report confirmed Chen's suspicions. The equipment appeared military in nature, including what looked like weapon systems disguised as research tools. Meanwhile, Dr. Murphy continued analyzing Varaxian communications, uncovering more layers of hidden messages. These suggested a coordinated operation involving all Varaxian outposts, scheduled to begin within weeks. "They're positioning assets for some kind of operation," Daniels told Wright and Garcia during an emergency meeting. "We need to increase our readiness without alerting them." Garcia authorized discreet military preparations under the guise of routine exercises. Earth's hidden defense systems, those the Varaxians hadn't discovered, were quietly brought to full readiness. Then disaster struck. The research station on Europa, Jupiter's moon, went silent. When a rescue team arrived, they found the station destroyed. All 57 personnel were dead, their bodies arranged in strange patterns. The evidence pointed to Varaxian weapons. When confronted, the Varaxian High Command expressed shock and denied involvement. They suggested another, unknown alien presence might be responsible. "We will investigate this tragedy alongside you," Ambassador Trellick promised. But the next day, Varaxian ships began restricting Earth vessels from approaching their outposts, claiming security concerns after the Europa incident. Wright met with Murphy, Daniels, and Garcia in the most secure room available. one specially built to block all possible surveillance. They're isolating their positions, Wright said. Standard military procedure before an offensive. Europa was a test, Daniels added. They wanted to see our response capabilities. Murphy looked up from his tablet. I've decoded more of their hidden communications. They're discussing harvesting and processing. I think they see us as resources, not equals. Admiral Garcia's face hardened. I'm going to brief the president and world leaders. We need to prepare for the possibility that first contact is about to become first conflict. As they left the meeting, Wright received a priority message from Captain Paul Johnson, commanding a patrol ship monitoring the outer solar system. The message was short. Unknown fleet detected hiding behind Neptune, massive in size. Sending visual confirmation. Wright watched as the images appeared on her screen. Hundreds of Varaxian warships far larger than the diplomatic vessels that had first approached Earth. The silent invasion was about to become very loud indeed. Captain Paul Johnson steadied himself as his patrol ship, the Vigilant, moved closer to the massive alien fleet hiding behind Neptune. His hands trembled slightly as he recorded his findings. This is Captain Johnson of Earth Defense Force ship Vigilant. I count over 300 Varaxian warships. These are not diplomatic vessels. They are armed for war. He sent the message along with visual data through their most secure channel. Moments later, the ship's sensors blared warnings. 3 Varaxian ships approaching fast, his first officer reported. Evasive maneuvers, Johnson ordered. Get us out of their sensor range. The Vigilant turned sharply, engines at maximum. For a brief moment, Johnson thought they might escape. Then a bright flash of energy cut through space, striking their engines. We've lost propulsion, the officer shouted. Johnson knew they had. Only seconds. Transmit all data to Earth headquarters. Emergency protocol. Now. As the ship's communication officer worked frantically, Johnson watched the Varaxian vessels surround them. He sent one final message. They know we've seen them. Prepare Earth for... The transmission cut off as a blinding light engulfed the Vigilant. Back on Earth, Commander Allison Wright stared in horror at the screen as Johnson's final message played. The room fell silent. Admiral Garcia was the first to speak. Captain Johnson and his crew gave their lives to warn us. He turned to the emergency response team. Did we receive all their data? Yes, sir, a young officer replied. Full visual confirmation of the fleet. It's larger than anything we've ever built. Garcia looked at Wright. Get this to all Earth government leaders immediately. We have no more time for diplomacy. Within hours, Earth's Unified Council gathered for an emergency session. The debate was heated. Some leaders still believed negotiation was possible. We cannot match their technological advantage, said the representative from Europe. We must find a diplomatic solution. Others disagreed. The Varaxians have been lying since they arrived, the representative from Africa countered. This hidden fleet proves their intentions. While the council debated, Wright met with Dr. Murphy in a secure room beneath the headquarters building. I've intercepted a new communication, Murphy said, his face pale. I finally cracked their highest encryption level. He played the message. Thurin, Varaxian commander's voice was cold and precise, without the musical quality they used when speaking to humans. Phase 1 assessment complete. Earth defenses mapped, colonial resistance minimal. Begin Phase 2 preparations. The primary fleet will emerge in 3 Earth days. Harvesting protocols ready. Wright felt ice in her veins. Harvesting protocols? I think they see Earth as a resource deposit, Murphy said quietly. And we're just part of that resource. Wright immediately contacted Admiral Garcia, who was observing the council meeting. We need to implement contingency plans now. She told him. We have 3 days at most. Garcia nodded grimly. The council is still divided. Some think we should try to negotiate surrender terms. Surrender? Wright couldn't believe what she was hearing. They believe it would save lives. would end our existence as free beings, Wright argued. The Varaxians don't want partners. They want assets. I know, Garcia said. That's why I've already given preliminary orders to activate our hidden defense systems. The Council doesn't need to know yet. As they spoke, alarms sounded throughout the building. What's happening? Wright asked. A security officer rushed in. 3 Earth colonies under simultaneous attack: Mars, Europa Base 2, and the Lunar City. Wright and Garcia hurried to the command center. The screen showed chaos across the solar system. Varaxian ships had emerged from hiding and were firing on human settlements. The Mars colony was already reporting heavy casualties. Get me Governor Chen, Wright demanded. Lisa Chen's face appeared. On screen, smoke and flames visible behind her. They came without warning, she reported, her voice steady despite the danger. Their weapons cut through our shields like they weren't even there. Casualties? Garcia asked. At least 200. Dead. We've evacuated to the underground shelters, but they're landing ground forces now. Another screen lit up with the face of Greg Daniels. Commander, our intelligence network reports Varaxian ships advancing throughout the system. Their pattern suggests they're securing key points before making a move on Earth itself. In the council chamber above, the emergency meeting dissolved into panic as reports flooded in. The Varaxian ambassador had mysteriously disappeared hours earlier, along with all senior Varaxian officials on Earth. Major Karen Johnson, Captain, Johnson's widow and a tactical officer, joined Wright and Garcia in the command center. They're using information from our compromised systems, she reported. They know exactly where to strike. What about our hidden defenses? Garcia asked. The ones we kept off all networks? Operational and ready, Major Johnson confirmed. They don't know about Protocol Lazarus. Wright turned to Murphy, who had been analyzing incoming Varaxian communications. What are they saying now? They're coordinating attacks. No more pretense of peace. Murphy looked up from his screen. Wait, something's happening on their command channel. All eyes turned to the main screen as it suddenly displayed the image of the Varaxian fleet commander. Unlike the diplomatic representatives humans had met before, this Varaxian wore what appeared to be military armor, and its eyes burned with cold purpose. People of Earth, the commander spoke, its voice no longer musical but harsh and commanding. Your deception has been noted. You hide weapons. You spy on our outposts. Your primitive attempts at resistance are futile. Your resources belong to the Varaxian Empire now. Submit, and some of you may be permitted to live as servants. Resist and face extinction. The transmission cut off abruptly. Moments later, alarms blared again. Earth's orbital defense network is going offline, a technician shouted. Systems failing across the globe. They've activated their back doors, Daniel said grimly. Admiral Garcia looked at the chaos unfolding across every screen, then turned to Wright. Commander, it's time. Activate Protocol Lazarus. Wright nodded and entered her authorization code. What do we tell the Council? Garcia's expression hardened. The time for debate is over. Tell them Earth is at war. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility unknown to most of humanity and completely hidden from the Varaxians, Commander Allison Wright stood before a room of Earth's top military leaders. The bunker had been built decades ago, designed to withstand any attack and shielded from all known forms of detection. Protocol Lazarus is now active, Wright announced. Screens around the room lit up, showing hidden military bases across Earth and throughout the solar system coming online. For the past 6 months, while we appeared to welcome the Varaxians, we've been preparing for this possibility. Admiral, Garcia nodded. Show them. Wright brought up images of weapon systems, spacecraft, and technology that had been kept completely secret. We allowed the Varaxians to see only what we wanted them to see. Our older defense systems, our outdated weapons. They think they know our capabilities. They're wrong. Major Karen Johnson stepped forward. Her face showed the grief of losing her husband, but her eyes burned with determination. The Varaxians believe they've disabled our orbital defenses. In reality, they only hit the decoys. Our true orbital platforms are now activating. On screens, around the room they watched as hidden weapon systems emerged from underground bunkers, from underwater bases, and from the far side of Earth's moon. Smaller, faster ships than anything Earth had publicly acknowledged began launching from concealed hangars. "How long have you been planning this?" asked a general from the Asian Alliance. "Since the day they arrived," Wright answered. Something about their story never added up. Admiral Garcia authorized contingency preparations while we continued. "Diplomatic efforts." Garcia addressed the room. "The Varaxians studied our history. They saw our divisions, our wars, our apparent technological limitations. What they failed to understand is that humans are very good at learning from past mistakes. After centuries of conflict among ourselves, we recognize threats better than most." Dr. Sean Murphy entered the command center with urgent news. "Commander, I've discovered something critical about Varaxian biology and technology." He displayed complex diagrams on the main screen. Their ships and even their bodies rely on a specific radiation frequency to maintain cellular cohesion. It's why they positioned their outposts where they did, to create a network that maintains this field across our solar system. "Can we disrupt it?" Wright asked. "Yes. Their overconfidence is their weakness. They never thought we'd discover this, so they didn't guard against it." Wright turned to Major Johnson. "How quickly can we modify our weapons to target this frequency?" "Hours, not days," Johnson replied. "The Lazarus Protocol included adaptable weapon systems for exactly this scenario." Greg Daniels, who had been coordinating with Earth's intelligence network, joined them with an update. "The Varaxians are confused by our response. Their communications show they expected immediate surrender. Instead, they're encountering resistance they didn't anticipate. On Mars, Governor Lisa Chen had organized the colonists into an effective resistance force. Using the natural caves and underground tunnels of the Red Planet, they launched surprise attacks against Varaxian landing parties. The aliens had expected to simply walk in and take control. Instead, they faced determined fighters who knew the terrain intimately. Chen reports that Varaxian ground forces seem physically uncomfortable on Mars, Daniel said. Murphy's discovery about their biology might explain why. "They're struggling outside their ships," Wright nodded. "Send word to all resistance forces. Target their communication relays first. If we can disrupt their biological support network, we gain a significant advantage." Around the solar system, humanity began fighting back with unexpected ferocity and coordination. Ships that the Varaxians had never seen before emerged from hidden bases on asteroids and moons. Weapons that had been developed in secret but never revealed were deployed against the invaders. Major Johnson personally led a daring counterattack to reclaim the main Mars colony. Her small force of specialized fighters used the new insights about Varaxian biology to devastating effect, disrupting the aliens' biological field generators and leaving them vulnerable. "The Mars colony is back under our control," Johnson reported 12 hours later. "Varaxian survivors are retreating to their ships. They seem shocked by our tactics." Similar reports came in from outposts throughout the solar system. The Varaxians had expected a quick victory against what they perceived as a technologically inferior species. Instead, they faced an enemy that had prepared specifically to fight them. Greg Daniels implemented the psychological warfare component of Earth's defense plan. Using the knowledge of Varaxian culture they had gleaned during the months of supposed cultural exchange, Earth forces broadcast specific sounds and images known to cause distress in Varaxian psychology. "They see us as primitive," Daniels explained to the War Council. "Let's show them that understanding your enemy is the most advanced weapon of all." 3 days into the open conflict, Earth had reclaimed most of its colonies. The Varaxian advance had not only been halted but pushed back. Their commanders sent repeated demands for Earth's surrender, each one sounding less confident than the last. In the mountain bunker, Wright, Garcia, Murphy, and the other leaders gathered to discuss the next phase of the war. "They still outnumber us," Garcia reminded them, "and their technology, even with the weaknesses we've discovered, remains more advanced in many areas." "But they don't understand us," Wright countered. "They studied our history, but missed its most important lesson. Humans are at their most dangerous when backed into a corner. The room fell silent as Wright displayed a message she had drafted. I propose we send this to their high command. Everyone read the short, direct statement. Major Johnson was the first to speak. My husband would approve. One by one, Earth's leaders nodded their agreement. Even those who had initially favored diplomacy now understood the reality they faced. Admiral Garcia gave the final approval. Send it. Across the solar system, on every frequency the Varaxians used, Earth transmitted its message. To the Varaxian High Command, for months we tolerated your deception. We watched as you positioned yourselves to strike. We let you believe we were weak and divided. That ends now. We're done pretending to be civilized. Prepare to witness humanity unleashed. The response came quickly. The Varaxian commander appeared on screen, its forearms moving in what they now recognized as signs of agitation. Your message is unclear. Explain done pretending to be civilized. Wright looked at Garcia, who nodded for her to respond. It means, Wright said coldly, that you're about to learn why throughout our violent history humans survived while others perished. You wanted Earth? Come and take it. The transmission ended. Earth's forces moved to attack positions. The true war was about to begin. The Varaxian fleet commander Nexor stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, watching tactical displays with growing concern. What had begun as a routine conquest was turning into something unprecedented in the long history of the Varaxian Empire. How is this possible? He demanded of his officers. Their resistance increases hourly. Where are these weapons coming from? His second-in-command replied carefully, the humans concealed their true capabilities. Our initial assessment was incomplete. On Earth, Commander Allison Wright coordinated the counteroffensive from the mountain bunker. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself a small smile as reports came in from across the solar system. Luna Base reports all Varaxian forces repelled, announced a communications officer. Governor Chen has secured Mars completely. Europa defensive line is holding. Admiral Garcia studied the strategic display showing the positions of all forces throughout the solar system. They're falling back to regroup near Jupiter. Time to launch Phase 2. Wright nodded and gave the command. Throughout the solar system, Earth's hidden fleet emerged from concealment. These were not the clumsy, outdated ships the Varaxians had observed during their months of surveillance. These vessels incorporated technology that humanity had developed, but kept secret, along with adaptations based on studying the Varaxians themselves. Dr. Murphy had completed his analysis of the alien biology and technology. Their ships and bodies rely on the same basic frequency, he explained to the War Council. Disrupt that frequency, and both become vulnerable. Major Karen Johnson led the first attack squadron against the Varaxian fleet near Jupiter. Her ships deployed the new frequency disruptors, invisible waves that targeted the specific radiation the Varaxians needed to maintain their biological cohesion and power their weapons. The effect was immediate and devastating. Varaxian ships began drifting, their systems failing. The aliens themselves, visible through communication channels, appeared to be in physical distress. Continue the attack, Johnson ordered her fleet. Show no mercy. Remember Earth. The battle for Jupiter's orbit lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 30% of the Varaxian fleet had been destroyed or disabled. The rest retreated toward the outer solar system. In the mountain bunker, Greg Daniels brought new intelligence to Wright and Garcia. We've decoded their emergency transmissions. They're calling for reinforcements, but the nearest Varaxian forces are light years away. They never expected to need help, Wright observed. Their arrogance is our advantage. Over the next 3 days, Earth forces pushed the Varaxians farther and farther from the inner solar system. Lisa Chen led the Mars Defense Force, now equipped, with weapons designed specifically to target Varaxian weaknesses. They recaptured the Varaxian outposts one by one, discovering horrifying evidence of what the aliens had planned for humanity. They were setting up processing centers, Chen reported, her voice tight with controlled anger, for harvesting human biological material. They see us as nothing but resources. This news hardened humanity's resolve. The Varaxians had made a fundamental mistake in their assessment of Earth. They had studied human history and seen only the conflicts, the divisions, the apparent technological limitations. What they missed was humanity's greatest strength: adaptation. For thousands of years, humans had fought each other, learning and improving their methods of warfare with each generation. When threatened by an outside force, those centuries of experience turned outward with terrible efficiency. The Varaxian retreat continued until their remaining ships gathered in the orbit of Neptune, the last defensive position before open space. From here, they could either make a final stand or flee the solar system entirely. Commander Wright, Admiral Garcia, and the other leaders of Earth's unified defense gathered to discuss the final phase of the war. "We have them cornered," Garcia said. "Their fleet is still substantial, but they're cut off from support." "Do we push them out of our system or destroy them completely?" asked one of the generals. Wright considered the question carefully. "We need to send a message, not just to these Varaxians, but to any other species watching. The message must be clear. Earth is not an easy target." The decision was made. Earth's fleet surrounded the remaining Varaxian ships, cutting off all escape routes. Then Wright opened a communication channel to the Varaxian flagship. Fleet Commander Nexor appeared on screen, his once proud posture now diminished. "You wish to discuss surrender terms?" he asked. "No," Wright replied calmly. "I wish to explain something you failed to understand about humans." The commanders of Earth's forces stood behind Wright as she continued. "You studied our wars and saw weakness. What you should have seen was practice. Every conflict taught us something new. Every battle made us stronger. We didn't develop technology as quickly as your species because we were busy learning something more important: how to fight and win against superior forces." Nexor's shimmering eyes narrowed. "What are your demands?" "Unconditional surrender. All your ships, all your technology, all your knowledge. In return, your lives will be spared." The Varaxian commander hesitated, pride battling with the reality of his situation. "And if we refuse?" Wright's expression hardened. "Then you will join the list of species who underestimated humanity and no longer exist to regret it." 6 hours later, the Varaxian fleet surrendered. Earth ships escorted the alien vessels to secure locations where they could be studied, and their technology adapted for humanity's use. In the mountain bunker, Wright, Garcia, Murphy, Johnson, Chen, and Daniels gathered for a final meeting of the War Council. "What happens now?" Murphy asked. "We've won. But the galaxy is clearly more dangerous than we imagined." Wright looked at each person in turn. "Now we prepare. The Varaxians won't be the last aliens to threaten Earth, but they'll have warned others about us." Garcia nodded. "We take their ships, their technology, and we expand outward. Next time we'll be the ones making first contact. And we'll be ready for anything," Wright added. Later that evening, Wright stood alone on an observation deck looking up at the stars. The Varaxian ships were visible as faint lights among the familiar constellations. Humanity had faced its first interstellar threat and survived. More than survived. Triumphed. She thought about the message they had sent. "We're done pretending to be civilized." It wasn't entirely accurate. Earth hadn't abandoned civilization. It had simply reminded the galaxy that being civilized was a choice, and sometimes survival required making a different choice. As she watched, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Whether it was natural or the remains of some destroyed ship, Wright couldn't tell, but it reminded her that the universe was vast and full of unknown dangers. Humanity would be ready for them all.